Hey folks, this is Tokyo Tower and it sits in the neighbourhood of Shibi-Koen. In today's video, my mock focuses on this area with the football pitch on the left, including Holland Hill's Mori Tower and the main road Sakurada Dori Avenue. I of course haven't included every single building, just the more interesting ones, but the thing I wanted to get right was the angles of the streets, the buildings, as this area has lots of buildings at odd positions, like much of Tokyo. There isn't much of a grid system like we see in US cities, and the buildings certainly don't all sit at right angles. And of course, the centrepiece is Tokyo Tower itself, which is the tallest structure in the city, and it towers above everything else. I transplanted the Tokyo Tower build from the architecture set, as to be honest, it really can't be improved upon. So as there's no water or shoreline in this part of the city, I started by planning out the curved main road and deciding which buildings to include. The big white one is a shopping mall and apartment complex, and that was my first build. Then I moved on to Mori Tower. It's a cool design with lots of texture, colour and curvature, and it sits at a slight angle, so I put this on jumper plates once I tiled the paths and gardens at its base. That blue and grey football pitch is actually really big in real life, but I have scaled it down and gave it a bit of a canopy, which isn't strictly accurate, but hey ho, it looks more like a stadium. And this all sits nicely next to a vast park called Autumn Maple Public Park, and it is full of blossom trees. There's a lot of trees in this area, so I've added a row of greenery next to Tokyo Tower and a huge car park underneath as well. For the main road, I ended up elevating it slightly just to give it a bit more definition, which is something I feel gets lost in micro builds. You often can't see the roads properly. And I really like this elevated look, so I'm going to use this technique in my future mocks as well, and especially for Gotham City. I've also tried to give as much space at the base of these buildings as possible, so they're not clustered together. However, on the other side, they are actually crammed in real life, so I squeezed a few more in over there. I have to say, I do find this quite pleasing to look at. The mock is colourful yet realistic, it has a good juxtaposition of shapes and angles, and that's more interesting to look at. Although it is trying to be a faithful representation of a real place, there is still composition that I have to consider, and feel being more careful with choices and colour palette is important in this kind of design. Something new I've done with this mock as well is using the sand blue 1x1 tiles as a road and path network. I've kept the dark grey as the main road, but all the wee paths that crisscross through all the buildings and gardens are those wee sand blue tiles, and I'm loving how that looks. I also find from above this looks really finished and polished, and the buildings, although dense, still have space to breathe, and that's a quality that I want to bring forward with my future city builds. The original architecture set was a fantastic one, and Tokyo has some great buildings, but really Tokyo Tower is the standout to me, and it's nice that the area around it hasn't been overdeveloped and you can actually see the tower from most places in the city. It's the biggest, most populous city in human history, and from the most sophisticated and technologically advanced society on Earth, so I think perhaps I might return to Tokyo as a subject matter, as it's a really interesting place. Let me know if you've ever been here. Have you been at the tower? I'd love to go someday, and I'd love to know what you think, if I did a good job at capturing the look of the area. And check out this next micro build video right here, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!